On the day of our senior road trip, my boyfriend and his childhood best friend left me stranded at a highway rest area. They had been driving for half an hour before they realized I wasn't in the car. When Ethan Hayes called me, there was no panic in his voice, only impatience. "Lila, why didn't you get in the car? Cut the drama. We're racing to catch the sunset, we can't turn around. Just catch a rideshare and meet up with us later." Scarlett Pierce's voice came through clearly on the other end of the line. "She's not a kid. She doesn't need you to wait on her hand and foot." Once upon a time, I would have apologized through stinging eyes. I would have dragged my luggage behind me and done everything I could to catch up. But this time, staring at the gray-blue sky beyond the rest area, I suddenly didn't want to chase them anymore. I canceled every hotel booking for the rest of the trip. I rescheduled my ticket for a small coastal town I'd always wanted to visit, the one they'd dismissed as boring. From that moment on. Mountains, lakes, the wide, wide world. I would never follow anyone else's path again. This senior road trip was supposed to be just for Ethan and me. Over 4 years of college, I'd followed him to so many places. Snow-capped mountains, canyons, deserts, empty highways. All places he loved. Before graduation, I'd brought it up once. "Ethan, let's go to the coast. Just a quiet little town. Sleep in, eat seafood, feel the ocean breeze. No rushing." He'd agreed so easily that day. "Sure. For our senior trip, we'll do what you want." I'd been so happy for weeks after that. I drafted 3 different versions of the itinerary. I picked a hotel right by Old Town, with a small balcony where you could see the harbor lights at night. I'd even bought a white dress in secret, wanting to take graduation photos with him by the water. But a week before we left, Scarlett suddenly posted a Colorado Scenic Byway loop map in the GroupMe chat. "Senior year deserves somewhere bold. You can go to the coast anytime. You don't get perfect summer weather on the plateau every year. Ethan replied to her almost instantly. "This route looks great. I stared at my phone, my fingers hovering over the screen for a long time. Finally, I typed. "But didn't we agree on the coast?" Scarlett shot back immediately. "Lila, you're not actually planning to spend our senior road trip like you're retired, are you? We're in our early 20s. Stop acting like a grandma on vacation." Other people in the group laughed. Someone said the plateau would make for epic photos. Someone said the coast was too basic. Someone said Ethan and Scarlett were such a perfect duo, it'd be a waste not to shoot highway footage with them. Ethan never stood up for me. He just DM'd me privately. "Don't be a buzzkill. Scarlett's right. I'll take you to the coast some other time. Some other time." He always had so many some other times. But every single one of them always ended up becoming someone else's right now. I stared at the message, a dull ache in my chest. I still replied with one word. "Okay. So I canceled all the coastal hotels. I researched the plateau route from scratch, booked the car, reserved rooms, checked elevation levels, weather forecasts, made a budget, bought travel insurance." Scarlett posted one line in the group. "Lila's always reliable with the plans." Followed by a clapping emoji. I stared at that sentence and couldn't tell if I should feel proud or heartbroken. On the day we left, Ethan pulled up to pick me up. Scarlett was already sitting in the passenger seat. She was wearing sunglasses, her long legs propped out the open door, holding an iced latte. When she saw me carrying my luggage, she tilted her chin at me. "Lila, you take the back. I get carsick. Front seat's easier for me. I get carsick too." Ethan knew that. I opened my mouth to say something, but he was already pulling open the back door for me. "Just tough it out, okay? Scarlett was up until 3 editing footage last night. She's not feeling great. The back's roomier. You can even nap." I watched how natural and effortless his movements were, and suddenly I remembered freshman year. The first time I'd gone on a trip with him, I'd gotten so carsick I could barely speak. He'd given me the passenger seat and squeezed himself into the back, handing me water and tissues the whole ride. Back then he'd said, "So what if my girlfriend's a little delicate? I spoil her." Now, he shoved my suitcase into the trunk, turned to Scarlett and said, "Buckle up. Let's hit the road." I stood by the car and smiled quietly to myself. I guess the feeling of being chosen does expire. The whole drive, they talked non-stop. They talked about camera angles. They talked about drone flight paths. They talked about which stretch of highway was perfect for sunset shots. They talked about what to call the documentary they'd cut from this trip, *Run to the Wild before we graduate star. I sat in the back, my tablet resting on my knees. On it was the itinerary I'd made. What time to leave, what time to arrive, where to gas up, where to eat, which stretches had no cell service, which B&B needed a call ahead to confirm hot water. I tried to chime in a few times. The innkeeper said the mountain road up there is narrow. We should get there before dark. No one heard me. When we stopped for lunch at a rest area, I sent Ethan the link to a restaurant I'd researched. This one has bad reviews. A lot of people say it's dirty. Let's go to the one next door. Scarlett glanced at the sign. I want this one. Bad reviews mean it's real. All the touristy places taste like cardboard. Ethan laughed. Fine. Your call. I frowned. But you have a weak stomach. Layla. He sounded annoyed. Can you stop being so tense for once? It's just one meal. It's not that big a deal. In the end, they ordered a table full of spicy, greasy food. Ethan ate like he was having the time of his life. 30 minutes later, his stomach was hurting so bad his face went white. I pulled stomach medicine out of my bag, poured him a cup of water, and handed it to him. Scarlett sat next to him, resting her chin on her hand, smiling. Lila, you're honestly like his mom. Ethan paused mid-sip. Then he laughed too. That's just how she is. She's used to nagging me. My fingers froze mid-air. It was supposed to be care. But coming from their mouths, it sounded like some out-of-place joke. We kept driving that afternoon. The weather turned bad, and fog rolled in over the mountains. I warned Ethan. Don't go too fast. There are sharp curves up ahead. Scarlett was adjusting her camera settings, not looking up. Lila, if you're scared, just close your eyes and sleep. Don't psych the driver out. Ethan laughed and added. You heard her. Close your eyes. I gripped my seatbelt and said nothing. Later, the fog got thicker, and my motion sickness hit hard. My stomach churned, and cold sweat broke out across my forehead. I rummaged in my bag for motion sickness pills. Only to realize that when I'd sorted my meds that morning, I'd put the motion sickness pills in the glove compartment up front. I called out to Ethan. Can we stop at the next rest area? I need to get something. He hummed in acknowledgement. The music in the car was loud. Scarlett was excitedly showing him photos she'd just taken. Look at this one. So cinematic. If we cut this right, it's gonna go viral. Ethan leaned over to look. Nice work, Scarlett. The two of them laughed together. I leaned back against the seat, eyes closed, my stomach twisting. In that moment, 100 old memories flooded back. I remembered the photography exhibition sophomore year. I'd spent 3 straight days running to print shops to help Ethan set up, my throat so hoarse I could barely speak. After the exhibition, Scarlett stood in front of the display wall, explaining their creative vision to the professor. The professor praised how in sync they were. Ethan smiled and said, We make a pretty good team. I stood in the corner, holding a pile of empty cardboard boxes from the installation. He never once looked back at me. I remembered summer break junior year, when Ethan was going to shoot in a remote wilderness area. Worried he'd get altitude sickness, I'd spent 2 weeks researching, buying him medicine, helping him rent equipment. But the day they left, he'd said last minute there wasn't room in the car and told me not to come. I stood under my dorm building with my luggage for a very long time. Then I saw Scarlett's Instagram post. Best partner. Always on the road. In the photo, she was in the passenger seat, and Ethan had one hand resting on the steering wheel. Sunlight fell across the side of his face. He looked so handsome. And so strange. There was another time, at a photography club dinner. Someone asked Ethan, "Where's your girlfriend?" Ethan said casually, "She's not really into this stuff. She'd just feel out of place." He said it like it was nothing. I stood right outside the private dining room, holding the hangover recovery smoothie I'd bought for him. That night, I didn't go in. I lied and told him something had come up last minute. He didn't ask any questions. None of these things, taken alone, seemed like a big deal. But piled up in my chest, they were like pieces of damp cotton. They didn't hurt, exactly. They just made it hard to breathe. The car finally pulled into a rest area. I pushed the door open and stepped out, my legs wobbly. Ethan rolled down the window. "Hurry up. We still gotta make that sunset." I nodded. "I just need to grab something. I'll be quick." The rest area was crowded. The convenience store was all the way at the back. I waited in line for medicine, then filled a cup with hot water. When I came back out, the sky had dimmed a little. I held the medicine and the hot water and walked back to the parking lot. The spot where the white SUV had been was empty. I froze for a second. Thought I'd remembered wrong. I walked further, checking row after row. Car after car. None of them were his. I stood there, my palms slowly going cold. That's when the phone rang. Ethan's voice came through the speaker. "Lila, where'd you go?" My throat felt tight. "I'm at the rest area. I went to get medicine." He clicked his tongue. "Why didn't you get back in the car?" I shot back, "You didn't notice I wasn't in the car?" Scarlett's voice drifted over from the other side. "I thought she was sleeping in the back." "Ethan, we're already 30 miles out. If we turn back now, we'll miss the sunset." Ethan lowered his voice. "Lila, don't be difficult. We're on the highway. Turning around is a hassle. See if you can catch a rideshare or something and meet us at the next exit." I stood in that strange rest area, surrounded by strangers coming and going. A big truck rumbled past, and the wind it kicked up stung my eyes. I asked him, "Ethan, are you sure you're not coming back for me?" He was quiet for a moment. Then he sounded even more annoyed. "Can you stop making this into something it's not? It was an accident. You're a grown woman. Can't you figure out how to get here on your own?" Scarlett laughed softly. "She's just spoiled. Every little thing, she expects everyone to drop everything for her." I laughed very quietly. So getting left at a rest area was just a little thing. So the sunset they were rushing to see mattered more than me standing alone in a strange place. I looked down at the hot water in my hand. The cup was warm enough to burn my palm. But I felt cold all the way through. I said, "Fine." Ethan sounded relieved. "Text me your location once you get a ride. And don't wander off. And hey, don't cry. Crying on a trip is such a downer." I didn't answer. I just hung up. The wind blew, and tears fell before I could stop them. Not sobbing. Just one drop, then another. Falling into the cup of hot water, silent as anything. I remembered before we left, my mom had asked me, Are you sure you want to go all that way with them? Every time you come back from a trip with them, you look exhausted. I'd defended Ethan back then. It's our senior trip. It's the last one. But it turned out the last one really was the last one. I opened the ticket app and bought a one-way ticket to Monterey, California. The old town I'd canceled. The ocean I'd wanted to see. The clam chowder I'd been craving. And there was a travel content studio there I'd secretly applied to. They'd emailed me about a second interview the week before. I'd never replied. Because Ethan had said, "I don't like the idea of you being all alone in a new city. Come back to Denver with me. I know a guy who can get you an operations job." I hadn't said no back then. Not because I wanted to go. But because I was used to following his lead. But now, suddenly, I didn't want to follow anymore. I opened all my bookings. I canceled 6 days of Airbnbs, campsites, rental cars, on-location portrait sessions, all of it. I'd booked every single one of them. I'd paid every deposit. I owed them nothing. I didn't have to plan a whole trip that didn't even include me. Then I opened iMessage, unpinned Ethan from the top of my list. Deleted Scarlett from my contacts entirely. Finally, I texted my mom. "Mom, I'm not going to the plateau. I'm going to the coast instead. She wrote back right away. Go. This time, don't take care of anyone else. Take care of you. I stared at those words and cried all over again. The sky went fully dark. I dragged my suitcase toward the shuttle to the Amtrak station. Behind me, the highway lights stretched into one long glowing line. Like a road I'd been chasing for years. But this time, I wasn't chasing anymore. On the train, I put my phone on airplane mode. It was pitch black outside the window, broken only by the occasional flash of a small town's lights. I wore my headphones and listened to music. I didn't sleep, but my mind was quiet. 3 hours later, I turned my phone back on, and my messages blew up. Ethan had called me 30 times. Scarlett had sent a few messages too. "Layla, what is your problem? You canceled the hotels? Do you have any idea we got there and there were no rooms left? Grow up." Throwing a tantrum over nothing. Ethan's voice notes were even more. At first, he was just irritated. "Layla, restore the bookings. Stop messing around. Signal's bad up here, rebooking is a nightmare. Then it turned to anger. "What is wrong with you? Because I didn't turn around, you're gonna ruin the whole trip." Then, finally, there was a flicker of panic in his voice. "Layla, where are you? You're scaring me." I asked the rest area staff. They said you left. Where did you go? I didn't reply to any of it. I arrived in Monterey the next morning. The air smelled like salt and damp ocean wind. I stepped out of the station with my suitcase, and the breeze hit my face, briny and soft. Nothing like the sharp, dry wind on the plateau. It was gentle. Like a hand, pressing softly against my aching chest. I didn't go straight to the hotel. I went to the beach first. 6 a.m., and the sand was almost empty. An old man walking his dog, a kid collecting shells, someone sitting on the seawall eating a hot breakfast. I bought a bowl of clam chowder. The shop owner smiled at me. "Visiting alone, honey?" I nodded. She smiled wider. "Good for you. Go wherever you want. No waiting around for anybody." I blinked. Then I smiled back. "Yeah. No waiting around for anybody." After breakfast, I walked along the shoreline for a long time. Sea wind tangled my hair, sand stuck to the hem of my dress. I didn't take any photos for Instagram. I didn't tell anyone where I was. I just walked, quiet and steady. Walked until my feet ached, walked until the sun climbed high in the sky. That morning, I emailed the travel content studio back. They replied almost immediately, saying if I was already in town, I could come by that afternoon to talk. I stared at the email, and my heart started racing. At the interview that afternoon, the boss asked me, "Why do you want to design slow travel itineraries?" I thought for a second, then said, "Because not everyone travels to conquer something. Some people just want to walk a road slowly, and see themselves a little clearer." The boss looked at me and smiled. I liked that answer. That afternoon, I got the internship. The pay wasn't great, but it came with housing. My job was to collect stories from Old Town and design travel routes around the city. When I walked out of the studio, Ethan called again. This time, I answered. It was loud on his end, like he was standing in wind. His voice was rough. "Layla. Where are you, really?" I looked out at the ocean in the distance. "Monterey." He sounded stunned. "What are you doing in Monterey?" "I wanted to come." "Layla." His voice rose sharply. "Will you stop being so reckless? Running off alone like that, do you have any idea how dangerous that is? If you wanted to go to the coast, I'll take you later, okay?" "Later. Always later." I almost laughed. "Ethan, you say later so much. But I'm done waiting." He went quiet, like he'd been cut off. After a long time, he said quietly, "Is this still about the rest area? I know I messed up that day. But we were already so far out, turning around on the highway is a nightmare. And Scarlett's foot was bothering her, and we were racing to get that sunset shot. I thought you could meet up with us on your own." I said, "Ethan, did it ever occur to you that I don't have to chase you? That road wasn't where I wanted to go. That trip wasn't the trip I wanted. When you left me there, I realized. I don't have to keep running after you." His breathing picked up. "Layla, don't say that. For years. You can't throw it all away over one mistake." "It wasn't one mistake." I cut him off. "It was 100 small ones. The rest area was just the last one." He didn't say anything. I hung up. My first week in Monterey was busy. During the day, I went out with the team to collect stories in Old Town. At night, I organized my notes and wrote copy. For the first time, I realized planning an itinerary wasn't just busy work. It could become a whole route, a whole story of a city. I went with my boss to interview an old boat builder. He sat on the dock, sanding a piece of wood. He said when he was young, he'd sailed away thinking faraway places were always better. When he got older, he realized the most important thing in life isn't how far you go, it's knowing why you left in the first place. I held my voice recorder, and my nose stung. I'd never known why I was going anywhere, back then. If Ethan wanted mountains, I went to mountains. If Ethan wanted highway shots, I planned highway routes. If Ethan said Scarlett was better in front of the camera, I stepped behind it. I'd always thought I was loving him. Later, I understood I was just giving up little pieces of myself, one by one. The second week, the studio let me lead my first tour group through the Old Town route. I was so nervous my palms sweated, double-checking the weather, the route, dietary restrictions, rest stops, everything. A mom with a little kid smiled at me and said, "Honey, you've thought of everything. Traveling with a kid's always chaotic, but this route is perfect. No rushing, no exhaustion." Something soft shifted in my chest. So my carefulness wasn't boring. My caution wasn't being a buzzkill. They only felt like flaws when I was with the wrong person. That night, I took a photo of the sunset over the ocean. I posted it to my Instagram feed, no caption. Just the photo. 10 minutes later, Ethan liked it. Right after, he sent me a message. "I'm coming to find you. I didn't reply. The next afternoon, he showed up outside the studio. He looked like he'd driven straight through. His hair was messy, there were dark circles under his eyes. When he saw me, he looked relieved at first, then hurt. "Lila, you've lost weight." I looked at him, and for a second, I felt a flicker of something. Ethan was still so handsome. White t-shirt, black jeans, standing out in any crowd. I'd liked him for 4 years. I couldn't just turn it off like a switch. But the feeling was behind glass now. I could see it. I couldn't touch it anymore. "What are you doing here?" I asked. He took a step closer. "To take you home." "Home where?" He frowned. "Denver, obviously. We agreed we'd go back together after graduation." I looked at him calmly. "You agreed." "I didn't." Ethan's face went pale. "Lila, do you have to be like this?" I know the trip was messed up, I already fought with Scarlett about it. She was out of line, I told her so. I won't let her talk to you like that again. I looked at him, and suddenly I was so tired. How could he still think the only problem was Scarlett being rude? "Ethan. Do you even remember where I wanted to go for our senior trip?" He froze. "The coast." "Which coast?" He couldn't answer. I smiled a little. "See? You don't remember. You remember Scarlett wanted the plateau. You remember she wanted sunset shots. You remember her foot hurts. You remember she stayed up till 3 editing. But you don't remember where I wanted to go. You don't remember I get carsick. You don't even remember I got off the car to buy medicine for myself." His eyes slowly reddened. "Lila, I didn't mean to. I got used to you handling everything. You never used to make me worry about this stuff." Yeah. I'd been too good, too quiet, too easy. So good he thought I never hurt, never tired, never got disappointed. That if he just waved from up ahead, I'd always run to catch up. I asked him. "Did it ever occur to you that maybe I wanted to be taken care of, just once?" Ethan opened his mouth. And said nothing at all. Scarlett showed up at dusk. She was a few hours behind Ethan. The second she saw me, she walked straight over. "Lila, don't you think you've had enough? Ethan's entire plateau shoot is ruined because he came looking for you." The client bailed. "Do you have any idea how long we worked on that project?" I looked at her. "What does that have to do with me?" She looked stunned, like she couldn't believe I'd say that. Her face darkened. "What do you mean, what does it have to do with you? You planned the whole thing. You cancelled all the bookings. You knew those rooms were impossible to get last minute. You did this on purpose to embarrass us." I almost laughed at how self-righteous she sounded. "Scarlett. I booked those rooms. I paid those deposits. When you left me stranded at a rest area, did you stop to wonder how I was gonna get to the hotel?" "No. So why would I keep them for you?" She scoffed. "That's so petty. No wonder Ethan's so tired of being with you. All you ever think about is your own little feelings. You never care about the bigger picture." Ethan frowned. "Scarlett, that's enough." But she didn't stop. She looked at me, her gaze sharp and cold. "Lila, I've never understood it. You won't take risks, you don't know anything about photography, you can barely even hike. Why do you even bother following Ethan around? Do you have any idea what kind of road he's meant for? He's meant to stand somewhere high, to shoot something big. Not to be held back by you asking if he's cold, if he's hungry, if his stomach hurts." She didn't even pretend to be nice. She didn't bother. Because in her eyes, she was just telling the truth. She thought I was dead weight. Thought I wasn't good enough for Ethan. Thought all my small, careful acts of care were just ropes holding him back from the things he deserved. Ethan's face was tight. "Scarlett." She turned to him, her voice rising. Am I wrong? Isn't that what you think too? Every time we go shoot, she's the first one tired, the first one wanting to stop, the first one scared of everything. You know how much faster we got things done when she wasn't around? Ethan went pale, then paler. But I didn't feel sad anymore. Not really. Because finally, someone had said it all out loud. All the dismissiveness hidden in jokes, all the contempt hidden in silence, all the impatience hidden behind "it's for your own good." Finally, it was all out in the open. I looked at Ethan. Is that what you think too? His eyes were red, and he shook his head fast. No. Lila, I never thought you were dead weight. He trailed off. Because even he couldn't finish the lie. I finished it for him. You just liked having me take care of everything, but you looked down on me for being careful. You just liked having me follow behind you, but you hated that I couldn't keep up. You just needed me to handle all the boring stuff, but you never thought any of it mattered. Tears spilled down Ethan's face. It was the first time I'd ever seen him cry. He'd always been so proud, so bright, like the whole world was just waiting for him to press the shutter. But now he stood there in the damp Monterey evening, red-eyed like a kid who'd messed up. If this had been 6 months ago, I would have softened. I would have wiped his tears. I would have said it's okay. I would have swallowed all my hurt and gone back with him. But this time, I just stepped back. Ethan. We're breaking up. He looked up sharply. I don't agree. I'm not asking for your permission. Layla. His voice shook. Don't do this. I'll change. Wherever you want to go, I'll go with you. The coast, small towns, whatever. We can take it slow. Just don't leave me. I looked at him, and my chest still ached. But it wasn't doubt anymore. It was just sadness for the girl I used to be. Ethan. It was never about you taking me to the coast. It was about you remembering that I had places I wanted to go, too. But you forgot too many times. I don't want to keep reminding you. He froze. I kept going. You forgot too many times. I'm done reminding you. Then I turned and walked back toward the studio. Ethan ran after me and grabbed my wrist. Layla. I really am sorry. His hand was cold. I looked down at it. That hand had held mine through so many roads. It had caught me when I almost fell. But lately, it had reached for Scarlett more and more. And looked back for me less and less. I pulled my hand away, slow and steady. Ethan. Don't chase me. Look at you. You're tired of running, too. He froze completely. I didn't look back. That night, Ethan stood outside my building for a long time. I knew. Because my roommate came home and said, "There's some really cute guy standing downstairs. Is he here for you?" I was going through interview notes for the next day. I didn't look up. No. My roommate leaned in. Really? He looks pretty miserable out there. I smiled a little. Good. People shouldn't get to make everyone else miserable and never feel it themselves. The next morning, Ethan was gone. But there was a bag of breakfast by the door. Iced latte, mini breakfast bagels, and a box of stomach medicine. There was a note. You always took care of me before. Let me take care of you now. Okay? I threw the whole thing in the trash. Ethan stayed in Monterey for 5 days. He showed up near the studio every day. Sometimes he brought water. Sometimes he brought food. Sometimes he bought little pastries I'd mentioned liking once, a long time ago. If this had happened 6 months earlier, I would have been so happy I couldn't sleep. But now, it just felt absurd. On the 5th day, Scarlett came to see me again. This time, she was alone. She stood at the edge of Old Town, her face tight. Fine, Layla. You win. I stared at her, confused. She laughed bitterly. Ethan cut every project we had together. The plateau shoot's dead. The graduation documentary's never getting finished. All he thinks about is you. Happy now? I said, I'm not happy. Because I was never competing with you. She flinched like I'd struck her. Don't act like you're better than me. You do nothing and he still picks you. Why? I climb mountains with him, I pull all-nighters editing with him, I shoot all the shots you're too scared to even try. I'm the one who gets him. Her voice cracked by the end. I looked at her quietly. And suddenly, I felt a little sorry for her. She'd always thought she and Ethan were on the same road, so she'd looked down on me. But she forgot love isn't a race. You don't win by running faster. Scarlett. If you really think you're that great, stop tying your worth to whether a man picks you. And stop putting me down just to make yourself feel bigger. Her eyes flashed, then went cold. What gives you the right to lecture me? I smiled a little. Nothing. So don't lecture me either. I turned and walked away. She called after me, Lila, you think you're gonna make it out here all alone? I didn't look back. Because I already was making it. 1 month after graduation, I was officially hired at the Monterey Travel Content Studio. I walked miles every day, interviewed dozens of people, wrote thousands of words. Sometimes shop owners were rude and hard to talk to. Sometimes events changed last minute and I'd panic so bad I wanted to cry. But I never once regretted it. Because this time, all the busy work was for me. The first route I designed was called the See You Can See Alone. When it went live, the numbers weren't huge. But the comments were full of people saying, this route is so gentle. Finally something that isn't non-stop packed travel. Just got out of a relationship. Gonna do this whole thing. You don't have to keep up with anyone. Hit me so hard I cried. My boss sent me a screenshot of the stats. Great work. I stared at those 2 words and rolled around on my bed grinning like an idiot. So this is what it feels like to be seen for what you do. Not for taking care of someone. Not for cleaning up someone else's mess. But because the thing you made matters, all on its own. That night, my mom called. She asked if I was settling in okay. I said I was fine. My mom was quiet for a second, then said softly. Bug, I've wanted to say this for a long time. Every time you came back from a trip with Ethan, you didn't look happy. But you liked him so much, I didn't want to say anything and make you sad. My throat felt tight. Mom, was I stupid back then? My mom laughed. No, baby. When you're young, you walk down roads you think you have to walk. You just have to walk out the other side. I hummed in agreement. After I hung up, I leaned against the window and looked out at the ocean. Monterey nights were soft. Fishing boats glowed far out on the water, little lights bobbing on the waves. Like tiny, steady stars. That's when Ethan sent me one last long message. He said he was going back to Denver. He said he'd been going through his computer and found all the spreadsheets I'd made for him. Equipment lists, shoot schedules, budgets, emergency plans. Every file had my name at the bottom. He said he never thought anything of it back then. Now he realized all that freedom and passion he'd bragged about? Most of it only existed because I was there to pick up the slack. He wrote. Layla, I'm sorry. I always thought you were too scared to go far. But the one who stayed behind was me. Don't look back. I read it, and I felt nothing, really. I wrote him back one last line. Safe travels. Then I deleted the chat. I didn't block him. I just didn't expect anything from him anymore. Some people don't need to be blocked. Because they can't reach you anymore. 6 months later, I saw Ethan again at a travel industry conference. He was thinner, quieter. It was a small event for people in the travel content space. He was there as a guest photographer. I was there representing my studio, presenting the Monterey Slow Travel Project. Before I went on stage, I was backstage fixing my slides. Ethan walked over. Layla. I turned around. He looked at me, his gaze soft and heavy. You've changed so much. I smiled a little. Have I? Yeah. He said it quiet. Back then, you'd shake so bad before talking to a crowd. Now you don't. I looked down at my hands. They weren't shaking. People really do change. When you stop putting all your safety in one person's hands. You grow your own bones, slowly but surely. Scarlett was there too. She wasn't standing with Ethan. I heard through people that she'd started her own solo travel account. Bold, fast-paced content, doing really well. But her and Ethan never worked together again. During the break, I went to the bathroom. When I came out, Scarlett was standing at the end of the hallway, smoking. When she saw me, she put it out. Layla. I stopped. She looked at me for a long time. Back then, I really did look down on you. I thought you were soft, clingy, no spine. But later I realized I wasn't any better. I acted like I was fearless, but really I was just trying to prove I deserved to be next to him more than you did. She laughed a little, bitter at herself. Stupid, right? I didn't say anything. She kept going. That day at the rest area. I did it on purpose. I looked up at her. She held my gaze, steady. I saw you get out of the car. I knew you weren't back when he started driving. But I didn't say anything. I wanted to see if he'd keep going without you. My fingers curled into fists at my sides. So that was it. I'd guessed, sometimes. But hearing it out loud still stung, like something sharp pressing into my chest. Scarlett said. I'm sorry. I know it's too late. I know it doesn't fix anything. But I wanted to say it anyway. I looked at her. After a long time, I said, it doesn't fix anything. Her eyes glistened a little. I said, but I hear you. And next time? Don't hurt other people just to feel better about yourself. Then I turned and walked away. When I got back to the ballroom, it was my turn to speak. The room was full of young people. Some had cameras. Some had notebooks. Some just sat there, watching quietly. I pulled up my slides. The first photo was the Monterey Ocean at dawn. I said, a lot of people think travel is about going far, about getting the perfect photo, about conquering a mountain, a road, a wilderness. But what I learned later is, travel can just be about stopping. About listening to your own voice. About asking yourself where you want to go, and why you're going there. The room was quiet. I saw Ethan sitting in the third row. He was looking at me, his eyes a little red. But this time, I didn't pause because of his tears. I kept going. I talked about my routes, my project, the people I'd interviewed, the streets I'd walked. When I finished, the whole room applauded. My boss gave me a thumbs up from the audience. I smiled and bowed. After the event, Ethan was waiting for me by the doors. He was holding a photo. It was from our first work trip together, 4 years earlier. In the photo, I was standing right behind him, smiling shyly. He held it out to me. This belongs to you. I didn't take it. You keep it. Then I turned and walked toward the studio car. My coworker yelled from the window. Lila, hurry up. Boss says we're hitting the seafood shack for dinner. I laughed and ran toward them. The wind lifted my hair. The road ahead was bright. And I never looked back.